Hello and welcome to The Hop, a marketing podcast. I'm your host, Matt Taylor-Farrington from PBM, and today I'm joined by Kira from River 949 Radio. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
You're our fifth podcast, and you just told me we're going to slow things down, and I'm like, nope, let's go.
I know. I like being antagonistic.
Nick's had to change the battery.
I know. He reckons that we take too long, so he's going to change the battery. Rude.
He's not sure if it'll run out or not. Anyways,
well, this
we'll
is
get
us
there.
we're talking about, so...
Yes. And we're going to talk about radio, of course, and why it still delivers big results for business. So let's hop to it, because I didn't say that in the first one. I got grief.
So you should.
I was off-brand.
Off-brand, rude.
Anyways, so radio hosts, they often have loyal followings.
Yes.
So how can a business leverage that trust between their host and the audience to make their ads more impactful?
Perfect. Okay, so first thing that goes without saying is if you're trying to dial into an audience with a celebrity announcer, best thing to do, make sure that you've got lots of commercials on that station as frequently as possible and as early as possible, because we know that if you're chasing an audience that is dialed into, say the Money and Campo show, make sure that you've got lots of commercials
During Money and Campo.
Or if you want to make sure that you've got lots of frequency throughout the day and it suits that particular audience because they're not going anywhere, they're sticking around for the rest of the day, then make sure that you've got lots of those commercials. Get that sonic audio from your creative commercial, playing often, playing frequently, day in, day out. Then you can start to leverage things like having getting the announcer to voice your commercial for you.
Yes.
Might be pricey, but it's worth getting a quote. Ask the question. Yeah. You can start to...
Some announcers are cheaper than others.
Absolutely.
Kira's not going to elaborate on that point.
No, I'm not. People who damage their, reputation may end up having a cheaper price. But then again, do you want them talking about your product?
No, correct. Yeah.
So that's where it comes down to. Now you can start to look at what about announcer live reads.
Yes.
I've actually got a great example of where a product was brought into station for the announcers to sample, to try, and then they did the live reads.
Yes.
And they can speak from personal experience. That is a great way to use that announcer, leverage, their personality, the people that are listening to their show and going, oh, actually, if Money and Campo like it, maybe I should try it too. Yeah. And that's exactly why you would utilize that strategy.
Yeah. 100%. Got the first one in for this episode. Agreed. And I guess it gets back to similar to like what we just talked about with the influencer side of things as well. That they're kind of the same thing, but with a megaphone and a broadcast signal to go out to people's cars, their homes, wherever they are broadcasting from, their app, their mobile. So it is a great way, and you can consider how you can utilize them as a talent, I suppose.
Absolutely. Well. Yeah. And that's the only difference between your influencer in a market versus a radio announcer. It's just the reach.
Yes.
It's the number of people that are going to hear that message and how frequently they're going to hear that message.
Correct. All right, listener habits, prime time. Are there any new trends in what people are when people are tuning into the radio? And I guess how can businesses optimize their ad placement based on current listener habits? Have we seen any movement? The traditional breakfast and drive has always been your prime. Yeah. Is that still very much the same?
Yeah, very much so. People are still traveling to work. They're still in and out of their office job, commuting, like us, in between appointments. Yes. So the way that people listen to radio in terms of daytime and prime time, peak time, etc., hasn't really changed. What has changed is some of the ways in which they're actually utilizing radio,
consuming it. Yeah.
So it might be that they're still listening in the car, but they're listening in the car via things like iHeartRadio, and other apps that I won't name because they're not in my Not my network.
Not a priority for Kira.
No, not my thing at the moment. But what that means for business owners is that you can turn around and buy pre-roll and mid-roll streaming commercials to make sure that your message is heard as the very first ad. When somebody turns around and clicks that iHeartRadio button and starts listening to, say, for example, River 949, and then starts consuming it, they'll play a 15-second audio commercial that'll be for Purple Bunny marketing, and that will be then played to 10, 20,000, depending on your impression purchase, to that number of people. So that's a one-to-one connection that you've just made with that listener.
Yes.
And then, as they're consuming the radio signal that's coming out of our station, they'll then turn around and start to hear your other commercials that are played on the station. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah, no, I heard that commercial. Or I heard that, or I've been hearing that commercial, and now all of a sudden I've been serviced one specific commercial. And it's the reason why a lot of business owners and marketers utilize things like pre-roll in, you know, your Spotify or your YouTube, because the more times that I can see your ad in a different light,
correct,
the better the frequency is. So that's just another way that radio's kind of tapped into that opportunity for business owners to then get their message.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it late last year, if you remember, where we said how many times someone has to be connected now from some form of marketing to want to consider using your brand. And I think it's now up 20 plus. And it's crazy. Like, you need to be constantly in their face and doing it in some way, whether it's through a social media post, whether it's through a radio ad, whether it's a pre-roll on YouTube, a pre-roll on radio, on iHeart, whatever it is. But, you know, you have to look at that whole picture, I guess.
100%.
So, all right, cool. So I don't need to go move my ads out of breakfast into the morning. Ad fatigue, and I guess fresh content. Something, I guess, you know, we've always harped on about Frank Walker from National Tiles. That's definitely fatigued. But when is a commercial fatigued, and when is it time to refresh, I guess, is the question.
Okay. So it depends on the campaign that you have.
Yes.
So if you have a long-term high-frequency campaign, so when I say high frequency, we're talking about 50 or 60 commercials a month that you're playing on one radio station.
Yes.
If you're doing that, you're going to get ad fatigue far faster than somebody who plays it half as frequently.
Yes.
So you need to take into consideration, if I have that type of campaign and I'm only playing one commercial, no rotation, it is 100%, this is the commercial I'm playing.
Yes.
I.e. Frank Walker from National Tiles, which is a very good cut-through creative commercial.
He just says Frank Walker part. Look, his commercials did change, let's be real.
Yes.
But the Frank Walker element was consistent. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, because that's the thing that people remember, and people are only going to pick up certain key bits of information until you start to get a long-term consistency in recognition.
Yes.
So think about things like how long you're advertising for. What's the time in market that creative's going to live for? It might be that you turn around and actually go, well, you know what? I'm going to create 4 ads that are exactly the same. Just one key thing's changed.
Yes.
And it might be that this is a commercial that's targeting men. This is a commercial that's targeting women. And this is a commercial that's targeting the whole house.
Yes.
And something else.
The dog.
The dog. The family pet. If you've got 4 different key targets, you're not always talking to the same person.
Correct.
Because when we create a creative commercial, you're turning around and saying, I need to talk to someone who, right? So if I'm talking to you, and then I'm talking to the partner, and then I'm talking about the kids, everybody's got a different thought process depending on where they're at in their day, things that resonate with them individually. So if you've got different target audiences that you're trying to talk to, but the message is the same at the end of the day, you're not actually going to end up with ad fatigue.
Yeah.
And that's the way that you'd run a high frequency campaign,
Yeah, agreed.
because you're not going to end up with ad fatigue with 60 commercials a day with 60 commercials in a month
Yes.
with 3 different ads
60
rotating
commercials
through.
in a day. You heard it here first, all right? Secure yourself 60 commercials in a day.
I can make that happen for you. I can make that happen.
Then you will considerably have ad fatigue.
Oh, then you'll
but
need
yes.
Purple Bunny marketing to create lots and lots of creative for you.
But yeah, I agree. I think ad creative in having multiples. When you're going to sit down and when you're going to take the time to do a commercial,
Yeah.
take the time to consider multiples. Like
Yes.
if you are doing a long-term brand campaign, say it's running over a 6 or 12-month period, I would strongly suggest that you need probably, if you're going to do 6 months, you probably need at least 3 different creatives to recycle
Yeah.
through. If you're going to do 12 months, you probably need 6, maybe 8 to kind of create that rotation.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about a brand that we mutually work with, NGU does it very well
Yep.
with his commercials. Steve listens to us very well.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, he does that well with his commercials and making sure that the sting at the front or the tag at the front
Yeah.
is very different, and the grab, and then obviously the back end of the commercial is the same. So,
Yes.
but the front end of it is very different, and that way it hasn't created that fatigue in the market with that commercial.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he's got lots of ads that he rotates through. So
Yes.
he's utilizing that ad rotation premise.
Yes.
So that's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. The other thing that you can also do is seasonal ads.
Yes.
If you have a business that's seasonal, why not have seasonal commercials? Have it all created at the same time. P.S. If you're doing it with your radio ads, why aren't you doing it with everything?
Correct.
Because if you're going to sit down and take the time to go and, like we've talked about, create a business plan, your business plan should be, this is what my business looks like in summer, and this is what my business looks like in winter.
Yes.
These are the things that we talk about over here because we're talking about 2 different reasons why people are purchasing things,
Yes.
i.e., air conditioning.
Yes.
I need it. I want it in summer, but I should be having it installed in winter.
Correct.
I need it serviced in summer, but I'm probably only going to get it serviced in winter before the summer kicks in.
Correct.
So there's different movements that your ideal client's going through, and that's the sort of thing that will drive your seasonal advertising.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Or 100%, as I should have said. All right, so moving on. Radio isn't just about being on air anymore. So how are stations like River 949 integrating things like social media, podcasts, digital content? They're creating that multi-channel marketing opportunities.
Yeah.
And what opportunities are there for businesses in that space?
Okay, so first thing is websites. Radio stations have websites. That's how people go and win this or find out news about that, or how do I contact the station because I'm upset with something that the morning announcer said.
Which happens.
It does happen. It does happen.
Yes.
So things like when we have we're doing a giveaway.
Yes.
And we will actually deliberately put a social media post in that giveaway. Why? Because we need to drive people from our Facebook page or Instagram back into our website. Why? Because on our website is lots and lots of visual advertising.
Yes.
So it's driving people from, you hear it on the air,
Yes.
tune in to win, jump onto our website right now and enter the competition.
Yes.
We're driving them directly to our website. No different than what our customers and our clients are doing with their ads. Want to find out more? Go to our website.
Correct.
Then on social media, we've got an audience that's living there.
Yes.
As they start to consume that, they'll go, oh yeah, no, I wouldn't mind winning family pass to the movies. Click, sending them to the website. They'll interact with our website. They'll see advertising that's on there. But that social media post that client has purchased as part of their promotion
Yes.
has that client's, they're tagged. They've got their logo on it.
Yeah.
So we're making sure that you're heard and seen and heard and seen and heard and seen, and just rinse and repeat and keep going.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, there's a certain aspect of your audience that might be on social media more than they might hear it on the radio, for example, and vice versa. So being able to tap into your different audiences in the different ways is really important.
Absolutely.
So.
And I mean, it's the same with, like, even if it's not a advertised piece of content on our Facebook page, it might be a local news story. P.S. We have free local news that you don't have to pay a subscription
that
for.
When you click, you don't go, oh, another one. Yes.
Or you can't read it because you don't got to pay for it.
Yep.
So that's a big part of what we do.
Yes.
And so if there's something that's pertinent, we're going to put it up. People then go from the Facebook page to the website, thus driving more traffic to see that information and see those articles, and then obviously see the advertising from our clients.
Yes.
And then, you've got Money and Campo will have a great interview with, local Australian actors, musicians, weird conversations that they have with, our wonderful listeners.
Yes.
And it's like, actually, that's really funny. We should put that into our catch-up radio.
Yes.
So that's part of our podcasting, audio-only platform that people can just go, oh, yeah, I missed that thing on Money and Campo this morning.
I want to go back and
want to go listen.
Yeah.
And lots of radio stations do that as well.
Yes. Yeah, and you see a lot of the catch-up stuff, or watch it on the catch-up, or listen to it, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, because we all know that not everybody works a 9-to-5 job. You might have been busy that morning and you couldn't do it because you had a thing for your kid.
Yes.
So
yeah, and I guess the key is that there's more than just the general, spots on radio.
No.
There are so many opportunities, and if you engage with your local radio station, you can find different opportunities to tap different audiences for your audience. Basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, there you go. She's cottoned on. She's saying it. All right, last question, because otherwise Nick will start to give us the wrap up.
Okay.
Breaking the radio is old. Myth. Some businesses still think of radio as outdated.
Yep.
How would you counter that mindset, and what would you say to business owners who underestimate radio's potential?
Okay. So, Commercial Radio Australia have this forum that they do once a year, and it just happened about a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And it actually had some really great insights.
Yes.
One of the things that came about from it is the fact that while people go, oh, radio's so old school and radio's this and radio's that, radio's actually outperforming when it comes to return on investment because it's such a low cost in comparison to some of the other things. So, influencer marketing in some instances has actually been seen, it costs a lot more to reach a smaller audience.
Yes.
It's not always the case, but it's certainly a majority of the case when it comes to, because they're targeting very, very tight niche of people that they're trying to talk to. Whereas radio has a very big reach. So that's the number of people that we talk to.
Yes.
So you could be talking to somewhere between 100,000 people and over 1 million people, depending on the radio station that you're engaging with.
Yeah.
So what the results actually showed is that while radio on its own was outperforming on return on investment, what it was also doing was radio with other mediums was actually boosting their outcomes. So, and that was done on a without radio versus with radio comparisons, and it was actually showing increases of 12 to 18% on various mediums. And out of home advertising, so that's billboards and anything that's visual medium in shopping centres and all the rest of it, was one of the highest performers because it was also low numbers on cost versus the number of people that see it every day.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you really need to go, what else am I doing in the mix? Is radio going to be my be all and end all? And believe me, I know that I've got clients that have only done radio and it has worked extremely well
Yes.
extremely well. But we're also talking about a time in market over a longer period of time.
Correct. Yeah.
And the one thing that this was actually very interesting is that on average, only 4 weeks was considered a long time on radio.
Yeah, right.
So you and I talk about 6 to 12 months
Yes.
worth of advertising, and we talk about brand.
Mm-hmm.
But from majority of people in Australia, from when they look at radio, they're not looking at radio as a branding opportunity. They're looking at radio as how can we sell.
Call to action.
Yeah, it's all about the price point.
Yes.
It's all about how much does this cost. Come to us for this special limited time only offer. Those are great, but they're not the be all and end all of your radio advertising.
Correct. Yeah, I think. Yeah, look, I mean, the old adage, well, you and I have been saying it since day one on this podcast, season 1, is that you need a good mix of your marketing. So, radio goes really well with digital. It works. We know that works hand in hand. It will also work really well with out of home, billboards, stuff like that. It is important to know who is your audience, who are you talking to, and where are they.
Yep.
And I guess the saying that radio's outdated, I don't see it.
No.
And anyone who says that to me, I kind of go, well, I've got a lot of businesses who do radio, who also do other forms of marketing.
Yeah.
And we take the radio away and we very quickly find out how well it has been performing.
Oh, yes.
So,
and we've had those conversations on numerous occasions.
Correct.
Where we have done exactly that.
Yes.
Remove the radio from the mix, and all of the other platforms fall down. And that's exactly what this particular study was showing, is that you take radio out of the mix and your other platforms don't perform.
Correct. They perform, they just don't perform as well as they could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's just a matter of you looking at what are you doing in that mix to make sure that my message is being seen and heard by the right people at the right times. And radio is a great way. I mean, this morning on the drive here, I heard 3 of my clients' commercials on the drive here. And it just goes to show, the impact that has.
Yeah.
So, and that's only a 25-minute drive across town. So, not a great amount of time, but I heard 3 different clients' commercials during that time.
And the reality is that a lot of people do have somewhere between a 25-minute to an hour commute.
Mm-hmm.
So and then again, they're also then tuning in when they're at the petrol station.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're listening when they get to work.
Yes.
And the doctor's surgery and this and that, because there are a lot of businesses that play radio, not tinned music.
Yes.
Because they can get the news, they can get the traffic, they can get the weather.
Yeah.
So there's lots of reasons why people are still tuning into radio and continue to tune into radio.
Especially the local stations too.
Oh, yeah.
More so. I think the fact that you get your local news, you get your local traffic report, especially when you're packing up your desk and getting ready to hit that door and get home and you're like, oh, am I going to have a 45-minute commute or an hour commute?
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes an hour and a half, depending on the roads. But it really is where people are listening. So if you've got your commercials in those spots, you're getting heard with maximum exposure. So yeah, definitely. All right, we're probably going to get the wrap up in a minute. Yep, we're getting the nod. Okay. All right, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for coming in, Kira. Thanks for having a chat again. I guess radio is still delivering great results in general. And I think any business owner that is unsure should really have a conversation. It is an obligation-free chat that you can have with a radio professional to find out, is this a right fit for my business? So, all right, thank you for tuning in to The Hop, helping you to continue to navigate the ever-changing landscape of marketing.